Before the first light touches the ridge lines, before the birds begin their songs, New Zealand already stirs, not in noise, but in breath. In the shadowed silence between mountains and sea, a hush lingers. Mist weaves through valleys like a memory returning. And somewhere far off, a single wave meets the shore with the gentlest sound. Welcome to a narrated discovery, where the world slows and the voice of the land is heard not in words, but in wind, water, and stillness. In this journey, we travel through the ancient quiet of Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, not to seek what is loud or grand, but what is steady, subtle, and deeply alive. We begin on the South Island, where the Southern Alps rise with quiet certainty. Their peaks are not brash, but resolute, snow-draped, wind-carved, eternal. At dawn, the light slides slowly down their slopes, turning ice into gold, stone into story. Below, glacial lakes lie still, holding sky and mountain in their mirrored depths. You don't just see the landscape here, you feel it, as if the earth remembers everything and shares only in silence. Along the shores of Lake Pukaki, the water glows a blue so pure it feels imagined. Fed by ancient ice, it shifts gently under the breath of the wind. The land around it is open, sparse, a kind of high desert, where silence stretches as far as the eye can see. Even footsteps feel like an interruption. The only sounds, tussock grasses rustling, distant birds, the low call of a faraway breeze. Closer to the coast, the land softens. Rolling hills dotted with sheep flow into one another like waves frozen in green. A gravel road winds through farmland, past fences lined with lupins and old wooden gates. A farmhouse sits quietly beneath a lone tree, its windows glowing with the light of morning tea. Nothing shouts, nothing demands, everything simply is. As you move toward the west, the forest thickens, dense, ancient, wet with time. Ferns the size of people unfurl beside the path. Moss carpets stones and trunks in velvety green. Light filters through the canopy in thin silver shafts. This is not a place of trails and maps, but of listening. Every drop of water, every creak of bark, every sudden birdsong is part of the dialogue. You are not alone here. The forest watches gently. Then, without warning, the trees part, and the sea appears. Wild, gray, endless. Waves crash against black rock in a rhythm older than thought. Driftwood litters the shore like bones of ancient creatures. The sky hangs low and heavy, and the salt air clings to your skin. It is not comfort you feel, it is reverence. New Zealand. You follow the coastline northward, where cliffs rise from the surf like sleeping giants. Wind carves their edges. Gulls drift effortlessly above the waves. The road is narrow and quiet, hugging the land as if unsure of its place. Here, the spaces between things feel sacred, between sea and sky, between rock and air, between where you were and where you are going. Not far inland, the world folds inward. You enter Fjordland, where light and silence are sculpted into form. Waterfalls pour down sheer granite faces, vanishing into mist before they reach the bottom. Milford Sound stretches forward like a cathedral made by time, steep walls rising from ink-dark water, cloaked in green, lost in cloud. You drift through it slowly, a speck in something vast. No music is needed here. The land provides its own score: water, wind, the soft creak of the boat. Rain begins without warning, then stops just as suddenly. Sunlight pierces the cloud in narrow columns, illuminating a patch of fern, a glistening rock, the ripples from a bird's wings. Each moment feels chosen, like a secret the land decides to share only once. You watch, and the silence between raindrops becomes more meaningful than sound. Back on land, the path leads through dense forest, the kind that breathes. Trees hundreds of years old reach upward without haste. Their roots twist across the earth like memory. You pause to listen. Somewhere high above, a tui sings, its notes strange and beautiful, like a question and an answer at once. You don't move. The bird sings again, and then nothing. Later, in the village of Teano, the lake mirrors the last light of day. Locals sit outside cafes with blankets over their knees, steam curling from ceramic mugs. A dog naps under a bench. Children laugh in the distance, not disrupting, just becoming part of the landscape. The world feels slowed, not stopped. There is movement, but without push. A few hours away, in the heart of Otago, golden hills roll like sleep. Vineyards stretch across the land in neat lines, the geometry softened by time. You walk through them at sunset, the grapes almost ready, the leaves rustling like pages of a book you've never read, but somehow remember. The light is amber. The air smells of earth and fruit. And for a moment, nothing else exists. This is the rhythm of New Zealand, not spectacle, but unfolding, not command, but invitation, not destination, but return.
The journey turns eastward, following quiet roads into Canterbury, a region where space itself becomes part of the story. Here, the sky seems wider. The land stretches out, flat and golden, like a breath held between two mountains. Long shadows move slowly across fields of wheat and wild tussock. Fences disappear into the distance. Windmills turn without urgency. You pass through small towns with single-lane streets and hand-painted signs. A bakery, a post office, a boy on a bicycle with nowhere in particular to be. The pace of life is not slower here. It's deeper. Every gesture carries weight. A nod, a wave, a door held open. Kindness without performance. Near Akaroa, the hills rise again, rolling, volcanic, green. The road climbs in looping curves until suddenly the harbor appears below, blue and calm like the eye of something ancient. The town is quiet, touched by its French history, but shaped by the sea. White cottages line narrow streets. Gardens spill over fences. Boats rock gently in the bay. You walk the shoreline, the breeze warm, the silence soft. At dusk, dolphins breach in the distance. A child points, but no one shouts. Everyone simply watches, as if joy too can be quiet. The next day takes you inland again. At the base of the Southern Alps, a single train winds through the landscape, the Transalpine. You board at sunrise. The engine hums low, steady. Through the wide windows, the land unfolds, past rivers that run silver and fast, past beech forests tinged with frost, past mountains that feel more like memory than stone. Passengers speak softly, if at all. No one looks at their phones. Everyone is watching. At Arthur's Pass, the train pauses. Snow begins to fall. Just a few flakes caught in the air like ash from a sacred fire. A Kia lands nearby, the world's only alpine parrot. Curious, unapologetic. It studies you, then vanishes with a flash of green. Later, you arrive in Greymouth. The west coast feels untamed, feral in the most beautiful way. The rain is softer here, the trees wilder. You follow a narrow trail through dripping forest to a beach of black sand where the sea pounds like a heartbeat. No footprints, no signs, only driftwood and the endless gray horizon. You breathe in and you let go. Farther north, the journey traces the spine of the South Island, winding through the Marlborough region, where sunlight seems to linger longer than anywhere else. The hills here are low and golden, patterned with vineyards that roll like a green tide across the valleys. Each vine is trained with care, each row lined like quiet poetry. In the distance, the Richmond Ranges rise, hazy and blue. You stop at a winery tucked into the hills. Not grand, not ostentatious. A single wooden building with wide verandas and silent barrels stacked like time itself. A woman pours wine with steady hands. You sip in silence. The taste is round and soft, like the light. Somewhere nearby, bees hum in lavender. A breeze lifts the edges of a linen tablecloth. The land doesn't ask you to speak. It invites you to notice. Beyond Marlborough, the road curves toward the sea again. The coastline near Kaikoura is narrow and wild, mountains plunging almost directly into ocean. Seals rest on sun-warmed rocks. Waves crash against black stone with rhythm, not violence. You walk beside the railway, past grasses and wildflowers, the scent of salt and soil heavy in the air. Out on the water, whales move with quiet majesty. You don't see the whole creature, only a breath, a curve of back, a final fluke disappearing into deep. And that is enough, more than enough. New Zealand never gives you everything. It gives you moments and waits to see if you are paying attention. Inland again, you reach the ferry at Picton. The boat moves slowly through Queen Charlotte Sound, a procession through blue and green. Forested hills rise from calm water. The sun dances on the surface. Even the wind feels respectful here, present but not pushing. You sit on the deck, jacket zipped, hands curled around a cup of tea, and watch the land drift by like a dream you don't want to wake from. As you cross into the North Island, the sky opens wider, the sea spreads farther. The land feels different, not better, not lesser, just new. Wellington greets you with wind and color, a city perched between sea and hill. Houses cling to slopes like thoughts held in place by memory. Street art blooms in alleyways. Cafes glow in the dusk. There is movement here, yes, but it does not break the stillness you've been carrying. You find a bench above the harbor. Below, the lights begin to shimmer. A ferry moves slowly out to sea. And as the night deepens, so does your understanding. This journey is not just across a place. It's into it, through it, and perhaps, gently, into yourself. North of Wellington, the land stretches open again. Rolling hills softened by distance, meadows stitched with fences, and skies brushed in watercolor gray. You move quietly through the lower North Island, where the rhythm is slower, the space is wider, the voices fewer. In the Wairarapa, sheep graze across vast fields like living clouds. Farmhouses sit low among trees, their chimneys breathing softly into morning air. A dirt road disappears into the hills. Somewhere, a dog barks once, not as warning but as greeting. You stop for coffee in a roadside cafe, where the walls are covered in old photos and the air smells of cinnamon and rain. No one hurries. No one watches the clock. The world outside moves, but gently. Farther north, the volcanic spine of the island begins to rise. You see it long before you reach it, Mount Ruapehu, snow-dusted and silent, its flanks streaked with rock and shadow. Around it, the land shifts. Steam rises from hidden nets. The earth is warm beneath your feet. You stand still, feeling the quiet power beneath the soil. Old and alive. Tongariro National Park stretches out like a breath held in stone. You walk a trail lined with alpine scrub and volcanic dust. The wind whistles across the ridgelines. Lakes shimmer in impossible shades of blue. Every step feels ancient, even if it's your first. You pause often, not from fatigue but reverence. Later, in Taupo, the lake spreads out before you like a second sky, created by one of the most powerful eruptions in Earth's history. It is now a place of peace, vast, glassy, calm. The sun hangs low above its surface. Boats drift slowly across the water. You sit on the shore, shoes off, toes in the sand. Birds call from nearby trees. The air is still. Not far from here, the earth breathes again. In Rotorua, steam rises between buildings, from gardens, from cracks in the pavement. Pools bubble, mud stirs. The scent of sulfur lingers, sharp but not unpleasant. It is a city that reminds you, the world beneath is not quiet. It speaks, it pulses, it waits. And yet, even here, there is softness. In a garden by the lake, a man plays guitar under a tree. His voice is low, almost lost to the steam. Children feed ducks nearby. An old woman closes her eyes on a bench. The geothermal breath of the land mingles with human calm, and the result is harmony, not created but allowed. You exhale, without knowing you'd been holding your breath. From Rotorua, the road winds northward through ancient forests and thermal valleys, past lakes still as mirrors and rivers that speak in ripples and reflections. You enter the Waikato region. Fertile, lush, humming softly with green. Here, the land does not rise to greet you. It cradles you. You pass through Mata Mata, where the hills seem almost too perfect, rolling like painted scenes beneath skies heavy with light. Sheep dot the fields. Wind moves gently across the grass. Somewhere in the distance, a wooden fence creaks, and a bird takes flight without sound. The air feels lighter here, as if the land itself remembers joy. Not far beyond lies the Waitomo district, and beneath it, a hidden world. You descend into limestone caverns, cool and damp, where the ceiling glows with starlight. But these stars are alive. thousands of glowworms pulsing faintly in the dark. You glide in silence along an underground river, the only sound the gentle splash of water against rock. The world narrows to a hush. You forget how far you've come. There is only this, a moment of weightless awe beneath the earth. Back above ground, the road continues north, through towns that seem to rise and vanish without effort. In Cambridge, roses bloom beside stone walls. In Hamilton, the gardens unfold in quiet chapters, Japanese, Indian, English, each its own kind of stillness. You walk slowly, not because you must, but because it feels right. And then comes the coast again. You reach Raglan just as the light begins to fall. The surf rolls in slow sets, one after the other, like the rhythm of a breath remembered. Surfers move across the waves with effortless grace. On shore, someone strums a guitar. A dog sleeps beneath a driftwood bench. You sit with your back to a dune, watching the sky melt into ocean. The breeze tastes of salt and wood smoke. As darkness deepens, lanterns flicker on porches. The waves keep rolling. The stars return, and in the distance, someone laughs. Not loudly, but with the softness of someone at peace. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to feel more fully. Because here, in this moment, New Zealand is not a place, it's a presence, a pulse, a knowing, quiet, constant, whole. The final stretch north unfolds with a kind of softness that feels deliberate. The air grows warmer, the forests denser, the land more intimate. You follow the coast where cliffs rise and fall beside the sea, where bays appear suddenly, still, blue, unclaimed. You pass through the Kauri forests, vast, primeval, living with quiet authority. These trees are giants, older than memory. Their trunks rise straight and broad, bark textured like time itself. You walk among them slowly, instinctively hushed, like entering a sacred hall. One tree, Tani Mahuta, the lord of the forest, towers above them all. You stand at its base and feel your breath shorten. Not from awe, from reverence. In the silence, you imagine all it has witnessed: storms, fire, peace, prayer, footsteps of ancestors. The stillness is not emptiness, it is memory, rooted deep in soil. Further along the road, the land narrows. You arrive at Hokianga, where dunes shimmer across the harbor and the sea glows beneath a veil of mist. A ferry carries you across the water. No announcements, no rush, just the sound of waves lapping wood and the call of gulls above. Children play in the shallows. A fisherman casts his line from shore, wordless. The scene is complete without commentary. You reach the Bay of Islands, a place where land and sea weave together like threads in a loose braid. Small boats rock gently in sheltered coves. Islands rise from the water like stepping stones to the horizon. You sit on a wooden dock, feet just above the surface, the sun painting long shadows across the waves. The wind shifts, and with it comes a deep calm. You are not waiting for anything, you are simply here. In Paihia, the past lingers gently. You visit Waitangi, where stories of arrival, agreement, tension, and hope echo between trees. Flags flutter, footprints remain, but nothing feels forced. This is not a place of answers, it is a place of holding. Space. As evening falls, you climb a hill above the bay. The land curves below like a cradle. Lights shimmer on the water. Somewhere behind you, the forest breathes. And in that quiet, surrounded by salt air, ancient roots, and the hush of an entire country exhaling, you understand. New Zealand has never been about escape. It is a return. To something older, to something still, to something true. At the northernmost edge of the country, the land becomes legend. You travel toward Cape Reinga, where two great oceans meet, the Tasman Sea and the Pacific, not in conflict, but in ceaseless motion. The road winds upward through windswept hills and golden grass, and with every bend the sky grows wider, the silence deeper. You arrive just before sunset. The lighthouse stands alone, sentinel and symbol, watching where water meets water in a swirling dance far below. To the Maori, this is the place where spirits depart, leaping from the cape's edge to begin their journey home. You stand quietly, and the moment carries weight. Not sadness, not fear, just meaning. The wind brushes your face. The sea murmurs far beneath the cliffs. And as the sun sinks lower, the horizon becomes a line between stories, past and future, known and unknown. You do not speak, you do not move, you simply remain. Later, in the dark, the stars return in full. This far from cities, the sky reveals itself, ancient, infinite, alive. You lie on your back in the grass, the lighthouse blinking behind you. Above, the Milky Way stretches from one edge of the world to the other. You feel small, yes, but not lost. You are placed, seen, held. As dawn breaks, your journey turns south one final time, not to retrace steps, but to remember them. The road unfolds slowly, the morning light spilling across hills and water and trees. You pass farms where the day begins with quiet labor. You stop at beaches where the sand is warm and the sea is kind. And everywhere there is the same hum, not of activity, but of presence. New Zealand was never about arrival. It was about noticing, about walking not just across land but into it, through fog and forest, beside glacier and sea, among voices you could not translate, but always felt. You return not as a visitor, but as someone who has listened. To silence, to distance, to softness. And as the final coastline fades behind you, you understand. This was not a journey to a place, it was a journey to stillness, to wonder, to a deeper kind of knowing, a narrated discovery not of the world, but of the part of you that still remembers how to be quiet.